Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Filmbusters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusterspod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Or shoot over and get some groovy merchandise at society6.com/filmbusters.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters.
Hello, and welcome to Filmbusters.
Hello, Adam wants to
This
introduce
week-
it today, apparently.
This week, we are going to be talking about Persona.
Are we
This is
now?
Paul's pick.
The 1966 film from Ingmar Bergman.
Ingmar.
Yes, that's Swedish
Ingmar.
classic. Is it Swedish or is it Danish?
Swedish.
Swedish. I was right the first time, delete the Danish part. Yes, this is Paul's pick, and yes. We've just come fresh off the back of talking on our Patreon episode about what we've been watching this month.
Yes, it was
And-
very juicy.
It was
Very
very
juicy.
juicy. It's a big, probably, we're knocking on an hour maybe, aren't we, with that Patreon record?
Yeah,
It's almost
pretty
like
much.
a podcast in the whole.
Wow,
And we go in depth into some particular films in that film.
we do.
And some shockers, let's say.
Pretty much Justice League.
Yes.
There is some, he just dropped, yeah.
All the thoughts
Some
on Zack
shocking views on
Snyder's
it.
Justice League. You'll be surprised at what
AKA,
you hear.
Paul gave it a 2-star and Ben gave it a 9-star.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that people would not expect it.
They would not expect it. But
Yeah.
that's why the episode is so juicy.
Yeah, and do you want to listen to that? Because you can go to www.patreon.com/filmbusters and you can listen to that shit right now or after this episode, preferably.
Yes, immediately. Zack Snyder's
Yes.
Justice League.
Yes.
Here's my cat. My cat's come to sit with me for the recording. Hello.
Oh, fantastic.
Why couldn't the cat come in on the video?
Well, because I was at the dining table and now I'm in the bedroom. He prefers a soft surface.
Aww.
Anyway, dear listeners, we told our patrons, and we're telling you, we are for a very short break because I'm moving house. So there's going to be a very short interruption in the transmissions. But it'll be very brief and we'll be back very, very soon for all of you to keep listening. So please
Oh,
don't
yes.
forget
You won't even
us.
notice we're gone.
You won't. no. People will be like, you shouldn't have even mentioned it.
No, I don't think
I
they will
think
notice.
I don't think we should. I think we should stop telling people and they won't realise.
Well,
I think we're making a bigger
But
thing
there's
about
no
it
one
than
else
it
to
needs
tell
be.
now, is there?
Is anyone looking at their calendar and their watch thinking,
Glyn.
where's this episode?
Glyn has done that in the past. Glyn has been like, boys, where's the episode? Is it late?
Yes.
He was the one who told us we had a fucking schedule. Well, I didn't know we had a schedule until Glyn decided
Yeah.
we did.
And then we had to stick to one.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, Ben, you'll be sitting in the south of France in your beach, and Glyn will message you, and be like, "Where are you?"
Yeah, exactly. Our fans demand stuff of us. That's what happens when you
Demand
get
it.
make it big. You know,
It's
like
too
when
much.
when you go to a gig and the bands aren't playing the songs you want, and you say, "Fucking play that, play that." That's what happens. The fans
Yeah.
start dictating what you do.
Well,
Yes,
I'm
they're
happy
late.
for it. If you're a hardcore fan, I'm happy for it. And you could be a hardcore fan just like our other patrons, Katie and Oti from For Your Reference.
Oh, I was wondering where you're going to go with that one. You did that little stutter.
I
The
know.
little
I was
stutter you were
thinking.
kicking
I was
in
going to
your
say
head,
For
weren't
Your
you?
Reference, and then I thought, no, I've said their names.
Yes.
Yes. You can also have Nerd Revert from Nerd Revert.
You can also have Jamie from Jamie Town.
And lastly, you can have Julio from the Contrarians, and then you can get that bonus content if you go to that Patreon channel. You can get that bonus content to tie you over.
Yeah. But
Yes.
in order to get you to subscribe to that Patreon, we got to give you some juicy content here to entice you first. So
yes,
we're going to do
please.
that over the course of the next hour. We're going to dump a bunch of juiciness on there. An amuse bouche for the main meal that is to follow on the Patreon, right?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
please.
These fucking people, they want to go straight to the burger. You need to have an
These-
amuse bouche
These
first.
fucking people. Should we
That's-
go on
that's
to the
lovely,
quiz of this episode?
We are really getting through this one. We normally chat shit in this part.
Oh, well, we're just going straight into it.
Straight
Yes,
into
I
this
think we
quiz.
did- yes.
It's time for me to catch Adam, and I think I can do it on a film such as this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Depends what the questions are.
It's true.
If you have not listened to an episode before, we do a quiz every episode. I ask Adam and Ben 2 questions, all relating to the film we're talking about, which today is Persona. Ben, you're on 9 points. Adam, you're on 14 points, and I'm on 4 points. If they get the question right, they get a point. If they get it wrong, I get the point. Basically, that's the rules.
Them's the rules.
Would you like your first question?
Yes.
I'm nervous, but yes.
You should be nervous. Here we go. I think this is pretty easy. You know
It's
I like to
catch-up
give you the
time.
easy questions.
Yes.
Here we go.
Here I come. Time to catch up. Here you go. Let's
Here
get
we
2
go.
points in the bag. No messing about.
Here we go. We saw a sheep being slaughtered in the opening scenes of Persona. What other creature did we see?
A dog.
Wrong.
A horse.
No.
A point for Paul.
It was a tarantula.
Oh God, yeah. Ugh. I hate them things, man. Yeesh. And it showed it from underneath the
It
big
did.
abdomen.
It
Ugh.
did. Horrid.
Them things. Why do people
All
like
hairy.
to have them?
I don't know. They love them. They love them shedding their husks. Have you ever seen a skin of a tarantula? They shed
Yes.
it. It looks
Oh,
like a
no.
tarantula, but there's no body inside it.
Ugh, very horrible. You know, our man. What's the guy who played Malcolm X in One Night in Miami?
Yes, I know the guy you're on
I
about.
don't know his name.
Something Junior, wasn't it?
It's definitely not. Well, anyway, whatever his name was, I can't be bothered to tell this story anymore. All the wind went out of my sails by you two not knowing his name, so I'm like, fuck it. It's not even worth carrying on with this. Forget
Kingsley
it.
Ben Adair.
There you go. You said Junior. That's because you were thinking of Leslie Odom Jr. And
Yeah,
that was going to
right.
throw you
It's
off.
true.
Yes. Okay. The wind is back in my sails. He had a tarantula when he was a much younger boy, when he was a kid growing up. He was telling a story about it the other day. And then it got out of the house and was on the street, and all the police had to come and seal off the street because they didn't know how this poisonous tarantula had gotten into the streets of
Wow.
London. Yeah.
That's an interesting
Get
fact.
on the streets of London.
Very good, Paul.
I love it. I'm on 5 points. Woohoo! There's another
Well done,
question.
Paul.
Do you want it?
Of course.
You had to be very
Attentive.
paying attention.
You gave up on looking for the word. It was like, let me find another way to articulate what I'm trying to say.
Ready? Here we go. How many brothers did Alma say she has?
3.
Wrong.
Fucking hell, man. What sort of question?
Fuck. I have no idea. I'm going to go 5.
No, it was 7. I get all the points.
Good lord.
Come on, that was a very an insane amount of brothers to have. I thought you'd remember.
I
She had
couldn't
7.
I don't think it was worth noting.
7 brides for 7 brothers.
Yeah. Good lord, man.
See, I got the tricky questions this time.
Now Paul
Yeah.
is fiddling
So-
it so he can get all the points again, so he can make
I'm
the
sorry,
big
but the
comeback.
tarantula was a very easy question. I thought I'd go with
It
the more
is in
tricky one.
hindsight. You are right. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm on 6
Adam
points.
fucked up. That
Well
was
done.
good. Well done to you. How many points are you behind me then? 3.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. Adam's sitting pretty up the top there still. He's not even breaking
I'm
a
just taking
sweat.
some time off and just letting my brain relax before a little run towards the end of the season.
No.
Yeah.
I'll give some easy questions next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I mean,
good.
well done on trying to find questions even for this film.
I know. I struggled. But, you
Yeah.
know, there we go. I did it.
That was good. Well done. So going into our break, yeah, Adam takes the lead.
Fantastic.
Or holds the lead, I should say.
Lovely. Shall we go on to the film, to the main event?
Yeah, oh my goodness, we're flying through today. Let's just get straight into the juice of it.
Let's talk about Persona.
In these words, the leading film critics of Europe have honored Ingmar Bergman's new film, Persona. Persona is a knowledge, a terrible knowledge of our loneliness, our estrangement, our inability to reach one another. It is a confession of our fears, of man, of failure, of death. Persona is the drama of a despair. A silence. A terror far too great to be named. Of life laid bare to the bone. It is a drama of the skin sensitivity and of faces and words and ruthless courage. Persona is an illusion shattered. A victory over silence. A new film from Ingmar Bergman, Persona.
Okay, everyone, today we're talking about Persona, the 1966 film from Ingmar Bergman. This is a spoiler episode. We will be going straight into the spoilers, no hanging about. So you should probably go see the film and then come back and listen, or just get spoiled outright. We don't really care, just listen, basically.
Yes.
But first of all, Adam, would you like to try and explain this plot?
Good luck with this.
Easy, mate, go on, easy. Throw it out there
fuck.
like it means nothing.
I actually can put, you know, it's like, oh, fuck. So, yeah, this film is about two women. One of them's in a hospital bed, and the other one's its nurse.
It's nurse.
Her nurse, sorry.
Objectifying women. Not
I'm
even
just
her
trying-
nurse. It's nurse.
Just trying to think of what I'm going to say. Yeah, so she's a hospital patient, and that's her nurse, and they trade stories about growing up.
They don't trade stories,
They
you
don't
don't really
trade,
speak, mate.
no. Only one of
Well,
them.
yeah, she doesn't speak. They tell stories. She tells her stories about her growing up.
She speaks at her.
Yeah.
Then slowly becomes more and more like the person.
Wow.
Traits.
Adam's got vocal fry on his voice.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, that, yeah.
Wow.
Wow,
man.
we were.
Wow.
So to summarise, listeners, there's a lady in a hospital bed, the other one's a nurse, and she tells stories to the other one.
Apparently
Yes.
so.
That is correct.
Stories.
I mean that, yeah, it is correct, to be honest.
Nothing about the fact that she doesn't speak, or the
Well,
fact
that's
that
all-
they go to a
that's
cabin
like-
and they like spend time together. And
I'm more gonna talk the scene through by through. Like, you just gave the plot description.
Description.
Okay,
Plot
now
description.
I'm done.
Anyway, that was
From
beautiful. Ben, do you
guys
have
take
anything
over.
for this film?
I don't have anything for this film. I assumed that this was going to be in my 1001 movies to see before you die list, considering it's Ingmar Bergman and it's higher than The Seventh Seal, which is his, like, what I believe to be his most famous film. But this gets much more highly rated than Seventh Seal. But it's not in that book.
Oh, isn't it?
No.
Oh.
And so... Oh, I was about to go into my review, which is not what I'm supposed to do. So I've got nothing else to say, really, at this point.
Okay.
Other
Fair
than, no,
dues.
actually, I have got this to say, because this won't be relevant to our reviews. This film, I think, is probably one of the most unique and strange ones you will ever hear us cover on this podcast. More so, I would argue, than Tetsuo, because Tetsuo was batshit, mad, crazy, visually, whereas this is just a whole other thing. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm very interested to see how this episode plays out. After I watched this
interesting.
film, I was like, okay, this
How
is...
are we recording this podcast?
So to give it a background, none of us had actually seen this film, and
Oh,
it
you
was
hadn't seen it, Paul?
no, none of us had seen it.
Oh, okay.
So it
I might
was
explain
basically
why you picked it.
it was a poster that I kept seeing pop up on Letterboxd and everywhere else, and it looked like a modern film. And I was like, what is this film? Why is it so highly rated? And then I saw it was in 1966, and I was like, okay, I'm interested to see this. And I read the plot description, and I was like, this sounds interesting for such an old film. And then I thought, this is the best place to do it. Let's talk about this shit.
Okay.
And I guess we will talk about it.
We will
Yes.
talk about it. This is the furthest back into the past we've ever gone on Film Busters.
It is.
Back to the 60s. We've never done anything, I don't think, before the 80s.
Yeah, that's
Ever.
also another reason why I picked it. I just
Great.
wanted us to go back a bit.
Great success.
Back in time.
Okay.
Journey we go on.
Okay, so this is my episode. I get to choose who goes first. And I'm going to go first.
Okay, here we
And
go.
then I will do Ben, then Adam.
Okay.
Let's do that. Okay, so for starters, what a beautifully, beautifully shot movie this is. I loved the way this was shot. The way like all the shots are layered, the way the actors are positioned. It all leans into that kind of idea of them merging personalities and like dualities and stuff. And I was super intrigued from the off. And I think this is a great example of surreal content that actually kind of engages me. And I was constantly trying to read into everything that they were saying and comparing like the random shots or segments that we saw like from the intro or like interspersed into the film, especially like in the like almost like the middle of the film. They like put a random interspersion. Is interspersion a word?
It should be.
It sounds like it is. Interspersion of shots. And but at the same time, it feels very shut off. I feel like it almost doesn't want you to know. As like no matter how much I was trying to read into it, I just couldn't necessarily make any sense of what was going on apart from like a general idea of what was going on. But this is what this podcast's all about, and I'm looking forward to delving into that story with you. But overall, because it's so shut off, I couldn't really take too much away from it. But I did enjoy it. It gets a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay, 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. I really struggled with this film from the off. Once like having no knowledge of Ingmar Bergman's work other than what I'd seen from Seventh Seal images, I was not prepared for those first couple of minutes, the very surreal open. And when that took place, I was like, oh shit, it's going to be a surreal film. I wasn't prepared for that. So I was very glad when it suddenly cut to the hospital and, okay, here's this person who stopped speaking mid-performance. You need to be assigned to her to look after her. But I like a bit of pretentious film as much as the next man, and I do like it. Normally I can find something in there, but the conversations that were had were so impossible to enjoy while you were watching the movie, if that makes sense. It feels like after you watch the movie and then what you need to be given is like, and here's all the dialogue that Alma spoke. Now have a read over it.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
Because in the moment, it was too much was going on. I'm like, is this going to lead to something? Is what she's saying about to lead to something? And it never did. And the experience of watching the film was not a pleasant or a good one. Other than how visually great it was. I agree. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I've never seen black and whites look so incredible. It was really, really well shot, really well positioned. But I could not engage with what was being said. That said, at the end, looking back on it, I was like, oh man, I wish I could just read a transcript of everything that was said, because there was a lot of prophetic stuff that was said there, a lot of stuff about what it is to be alive and what it is to be. And really, in order to get anything from this, it's going to come out in this conversation with you two, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a 5 out of 10 for me. But I don't want that to come across as me just going, oh, it was a crap film. I'm well aware that it's a good film and that there must be stuff going on, but it didn't hit me while I was watching it, and it's more like, okay, I'm going to reflect on it. And like Adam has said in the past, I may change my rating after I discuss with you two, but so much will depend on what we can get out of it.
I was hoping that you were going to tell me exactly what was happening in this film.
Sorry, mate, not this time.
Go on, Adam. You go, and then we'll discuss.
You two have pretty much said everything I was going to say on this. It's... First of all, those first opening shots, I was like, okay, what the hell is going on here? I'm not I don't really want to watch a film like this. If that makes sense. And then I was quite glad when it turned into the actually kind of a normal film to say, let's say, that all disappeared, and I was on board with it then. But it lost me quite quickly, and I was just like, what is this film? Again, like you said, it is shot beautifully. That's all great, but by the end of it, it had completely lost me. And I was pretty bored, as you can probably tell by my plot description of this film.
I was.
It kind of lost me quite quickly, and after like the initial plot, I didn't really know what was going on. And Ben, you just said something, and I wish you didn't say that, because I was hoping that you could tell me what was going on in this film, because I thought you might be able to dissect it and understand it better than I did. But all in all, it's a 5 out of 10. I wish I liked this film more, like you guys have said, because it does look good, and it's not a bad film at the end of the day. Like,
no, that's the thing. It's not.
The actresses were pretty good in it, and it's probably got a really interesting plot, I think, if you can understand what the hell is going on. But it wasn't engaging enough to get away with what it was doing, I feel. Okay, let's carry on. Yeah, it's a 5 out of 10.
What were you going to say? You said
I said the only scene that really kind of engaged me was the bit when she was talking about the beach.
Yeah.
Which bit?
The beach scene. That was a fucking brave scene to put into a film.
That was a brave scene.
And also,
especially
when
back
she's
in
telling the
60s
story.
as well.
Yeah.
And apparently the boys that they slept with were 13, 15 or something like that.
I know, they said young boys.
They said young in the film, but apparently because I read through the trivia quite quickly, because when they were whacking the nail into that guy's hand, I was like, that guy's hand is moving in a weird way. Have they actually gone and whacked a nail through some guy's hand?
Yes, they did. Is that what you found out?
No, they didn't mention it at all.
Oh, okay.
I was
They
like,
definitely wouldn't have run a nail through a guy's hand.
it was like when I was watching Tetsuo, I was like, that's a very good perspective.
He's put a bar in his leg.
Yeah.
He's just rammed it in, and look at all those maggots that have formed quickly.
It says something that when I'm watching it, I want to know what's going on. Not necessarily that I knew, like, I'm going to find out what's going on. I just like the fact that I can almost... it says something that's saying that I want to find out. It says that it's obviously done its job for me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily count it as a bad film just because I don't understand what's happening. But I want to delve into it and try and find out. But it just, by the end, it didn't offer enough for me to go like, oh, this is an interesting snippet that I can maybe read into. It kind of just shuts itself off.
Yeah, it
doesn't allow you to get in.
I think, right, the difference with something like this as opposed to, say, a David Lynch surreal thing is like David Lynch...
I was going to say, this has got the Twin Peaks vibe of like, it's not telling you the whole story and you want to kind of read into their conversations a bit more.
But the difference, I think,
is in half as well.
The difference is that with David Lynch's stuff, lots and lots of imagery and ideas and illusions are planted there throughout for you to read it. It invites deep analysis. It invites it like art, right? Whereas this, and it's not a criticism of the film, I don't think we're all saying here, oh, I wish that we could work out what the plot was about. I actually think that the plot of this film is what we see. There's nothing more to the plot. What it is it's a film of ideas, and what each of us, well, none of us were particularly completely won over by it, but what each of us takes from it will be unique and relevant and will be correct, because it's dealing with issues of what it is to be alive, what it means to exist, what it is to have my identity, my ego, my id over yours and over yours, and what each of us takes from it is more a reflection on ourselves. And I think that is, like, trying to read into it, I think that is why we're presented very, very early on with, well, the opening scene. You're about to watch a film. Clearly, here is a film. That's what we're seeing. The minute the credits, the minute the film opens,
you're like inside the camera.
You're inside the camera.
You?
The film is about to start. It's about to begin now. So immediately you're immersed in it. We get all that surreal shit, which I don't really know why we get it. But then we're introduced to this person who, in the middle of a performance, stops speaking And then for the rest of the film, will not say a word. Maybe a couple of words, yes, but will not say a word. And then another person will talk at this person, trying to get this person to come out of their shell. And in the process of her talking to this person, she begins to lose a sense of who she is. And we as viewers are left to question whether the person who's not speaking is actually absorbing the personality of the one who is speaking. So I think it's all about our individual identities, who we are as people, and how the people that are around us end up over a short period of time or a long period of time affecting who we actually are.
Yeah.
Like me working with you guys for 3 years, in that time that we were together, it would have changed me, what my personality is slightly, and how I experience things, as opposed to if I had never met you two. Yeah, I'd be on a different pathway, but my personality
You kind of sync.
has changed. Yeah. It's
You
adapted
sync.
because of being around you, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on who you're around. You know, and I think it's something to do with that. Anyway,
Yeah.
generally speaking,
I definitely agree with that. Like the fact that they very quickly end up wearing the same clothing,
Yeah.
or like kind of mimicking each other's thoughts, and when I say thoughts, like they almost their lives kind of are on a crossroads, and they both, it's like about them both having a child and them having some kind of odd relationship with the child, where with her it was about her having sex with and cheating on a partner and having this baby out of it as well, and then her wanting to have a baby just because someone said that she's not very motherly, and it's all like their lives kind of cross, and they're kind of becoming the same kind of person, but at the same time it's like, but what are you trying to tell me here?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? What does that mean? I don't know. But I also, coming from the back end of this now, I kind of can tell maybe that the boy at the beginning might have been one of the sons of them, particularly maybe Elizabeth's son, where he wants to get close to her as a mother, and he's like touching her face, and that's what I took away from that bit. But I don't know why they're in a morgue at the beginning and stuff like that.
yeah.
But it's all very odd, because that first, it is very odd. It's all about going into a film, and then coming out the back end of it, you see the cameraman shooting Alma as she's leaving,
and that's Bergman. That's Bergman at the end on the thing. It's like it is like saying you're about to see a film.
Yes.
This is all performance that you are about to see. I think that's the key. It's like everything is an act, a performance, and that gets said multiple times to her before she goes to the remote place. That other nurse says to her, "Oh, here's just another performance that you've grown tired of. So when are you going to grow tired of this one you're doing?" And maybe because this whole fucking film is about big, grand philosophical questions about life and self, right? So it's got to be something to do with the performances we put on in life, who we are, and how we. I swear we've had this conversation before in a certain film. I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure we've said before, you adjust who you are based on who you're around.
And at certain points in your life, it's more key than others, isn't it?
Yeah, and like the way you talk, not you, Adam, because you act the same always, actually. But you know, the way you would act around your granddad and conduct yourself is different to the way you would act around, a client at work, and is different to the way you'd act around us. If you spend prolonged periods of time with any one individual person, you kind of mirror that person's energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think is interesting about this film. That idea.
The only thing I was going to say is when I read up the trivia to see about the hand bit, it did say persona is the Latin word for disguise, put a mask on to disguise yourself.
Yeah, persona. Yeah, persona is not
Something
your
like that.
real self. That's true.
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
It's like
That's
it's like
just a
going on a
persona.
chat room and pretending to be someone else. That's your persona.
But also the thing is, if you didn't really know that before the film was called Persona, you would have even less of an idea what was going on. The only reason it's called Persona, you kind of feel like, okay, there's got to be something happening along those lines in this film.
But another thing I took from it, so considering that we say that we're almost going into the camera and going into the film,
Yeah.
like we're watching a film right now, and let's say Alma is the star of this film,
Yeah.
and it's almost like Elizabeth, she is like almost Alma is her case study, because that's what it seems that she's studying her as if like she's going to play her in a film.
Right. Okay.
It almost mirrors that, and the fact that she starts wearing the same clothes, and they're like almost becoming like having the same stories.
And then her husband turns up and is addressing Alma instead of Elizabeth.
Yes,
As
exactly.
if Alma, you were the one who walked away. So like the line is blurred.
Yeah.
You know, it's very similar to Mulholland Drive on that level.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, of all the David Lynch films, it reminds me of Mulholland Drive, like the two female characters and the conversations they have, and then the crossover of personalities.
Yeah. And see, that's the
what it
difference.
reminds me
With Mulholland Drive, like that's particularly engaging, and it wraps me in on the mystery. Whereas this, I don't think it's meant to be a mystery. I don't think it's meant to tantalize you in that way. I think it's meant to make you question. You know, it's like a typical psychiatrist. I think it's a case of you go to the film, and the film is actually a therapist, a psychiatrist.
That is interesting.
You're looking for answers, but actually it's the therapist who's like, well, I'm going to ask you questions all the way through.
That is a great way of looking at it, yeah.
Frustrating, because then you've got to go, no, tell me. And it's like, no, shit, I've got to put in the work to understand this.
That is very true. Because when I was probably about halfway through, I was like, I'm really enjoying this. I was like, it might even be creeping to an 8, right? Of how much I was enjoying it.
I'm surprised you enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, but then when you get to the back end of it, I was like, there's not much time left. And I was like, and nothing's really happening. Like, nothing is like, make me think, this is where the mystery is.
Yeah.
It's just a story. And I was
is.
like, okay, this is not the thing I thought it was going to be. I can't really wrap myself up in this mystery, because it's like just the story's there for you to try and work out, and that's it. It's like, it gives you no clues.
No, it doesn't. It's definitely... I'm not familiar with films from around that time, particularly not like films that would have come from like Scandinavia, but it's clearly like a subgenre that cropped up around then, where you can imagine, right, all the films of the 40s and 50s have taken place, musicals, westerns, all of that bombastic stuff, and then in the 60s cinema starts shifting and starts doing things differently, and this at the time would have been like, oh well, this is like nothing we've seen before. What is this? This is raising up questions of being and existence and who we are. And I think that's probably why it's given so much clout and whatnot. And I think that was the intention with the film, is like, well, I'm going to make a film that just causes people to reflect and look at into and at themselves. But also, I'm going to be about filmmaking. Even in Mulholland Drive, they're making a film. And you see the film being made throughout the film at times.
I think
Lynch was definitely inspired by this,
I think
right?
he was definitely inspired by this film.
Lynch
100%.
would love this film.
Yeah.
He does. I said that on the Wikipedia page that he is inspired by this film. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to.
But yeah, I wish I understood what was going on in this film, but it just lost me at a certain point, and yeah.
It lost me as well. That's the thing. It's a tricky situation, because it's like, I can tell I like the ideas that it brings up, and I admire it, but I didn't enjoy it at all. I wasn't enjoying it.
I wish I liked it though. That's the annoying thing with it, because it is well shot as well. That's like, it looks good, and it's all that.
It looks beautiful.
And I'm really glad that I was going to watch this the night before. So I watched this on Sunday morning.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to watch it Saturday evening.
It's not a Saturday evening watch.
I was like, it's not a Saturday evening film, and I wasn't like the most awake at that point as well. So I've rewatched Moon, which would have been a lot better. I needed something, and I'm very glad that if I watched that then, I would have. Yeah.
But that's what they're on these films. That's the thing. This is the beauty of the cinema. This represents the beauty of cinema. For every like thing, let's be topical. Zack Snyder's The Justice League, or Justice, just Justice League. For every Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is cinema, there is a Persona, which is cinema. Two complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but both to be enjoyed in different ways.
Yeah.
Both require you to watch there, but one requires you to sit and absorb, and the other requires you to meet it more than halfway. And that is work, and people don't always want to do that with their films, and I get that, and I can totally get your headspace at the time you watch it would totally reflect it. If you were in the mood for, okay, I want to be challenged, I want to think, then great. But if you were not, if you're like, I just need to put a film on, this is the last film you'd want to put on.
Yeah, definitely. I've read as well that they class, like film historians class this as the Mount Everest of cinematic analysis. And the quote from Peter Cowie was, everything one says about Persona may be contradicted, the opposite will also be true, which kind of just tells me that they don't know, no one knows what this film means.
Yeah.
But because it is so closed off, it just makes people want to dig into it further and further and further.
Yeah.
It's like the the Grand Theft Auto mystery of Mount Chiliad, where Rockstar
Ingmar Bergman would have never thought that comparison would be made.
It's like there's a mural on top of Mount Chiliad in Grand Theft Auto that has this odd mural that you're trying to work out, and there's no actual answer to it.
They hide some answers around the map to try and make you think.
Yes,
like you
exactly.
got it, but
People try to understand it, but you'll never find it out because there is no answer. And that is it.
Yeah, and that's. But this is where it comes down to, you have to reflect, and this is what's interesting about the film. You have to reflect on yourself. It's not about how closely you can pay attention to this film.
Yeah.
That's why I think, like, I didn't enjoy the film, but as I think about it, I'm encouraged by it, because I'm like, okay, I get it. Because in watching it won't give you the answers. Absorbing it and then thinking on your situation and what it's saying for you is where the answer lies.
There's a thrill of trying to understand it. That's the nice thing that comes from it, I think.
it's completely different from every 5 I've ever given a film.
Yeah, it is. It is
Because
a
it
bit
shouldn't
different to the
be a
5.
5.
I would class a 5 as a bad film.
But you know,
it doesn't. This doesn't fall into those brackets of good, bad, and not good.
it
Whatever.
bored me so much. That's the problem with it.
Okay, that's fine. If it bored you, then I can understand that, yeah.
There's no correct answer to it. That's the thing. Like, Bergman, I'm guessing, if he was alive, if he was being completely honest, he would say there is no this isn't what I meant by this or this. These are like existential questions for you to answer. As opposed to like David Lynch, who he knows what the fuck everything means, and he's wrapping it up in a little puzzle and an enigma for you to sort out.
Yeah.
Bergman will be like, no, it's not about the detail. These are just ideas. Think about the ideas. It's causing reflection. To reflect, because it made me think. Again, I keep bringing this guy up, but it's not intentional. It's just the films that we watch. It made me think of my time with this guy that I lived with for a year, where over the course of that year, the two of us together for such a prolonged period of time in close quarters, his personality I was absorbing his personality, and it got to a bad point, so I had to leave it. And that idea of being so contained with someone that you could potentially lose your sense of self is very interesting, because then it's like, well, what if that can happen? What is the true you? If me and you, Paul, could go and lock ourselves away in a cabin for a year, we're going to come out changed, right? But does that mean that you're not you and I'm not me anymore? No, we are both us. We have changed. We've absorbed something of the other person, and that is us.
Yeah, we're an evolved version of ourselves.
Strange.
That is very true. Yeah, I can see that as an idea for the film. Yeah, definitely.
Because we can only be who we are because of people we've encountered. If we had never encountered a human being in our life, we would have grown up uncivilized and strange, but we wouldn't have interests. We wouldn't like film and stuff like that. We wouldn't like this. We wouldn't like that. We would go on primal stuff. We have parents that raise us, and then that formulates us so we know how to function as a human. But then the personality of who we are comes from interactions with people who then introduce us to things or feel a certain way, and that all starts forming us. And for her in the film, Elizabeth, the fact that she stops talking while she's in the middle of a performance is almost like she's like, I'm giving this up. I'm not playing anyone else anymore. I need to just be I need to be. They say that at some point in the film, I'm sure. It says something about the art of being. I haven't understood how to just be. And that's it. It's like, I'm not going to perform anymore. I'm not going to go on stage and act. I'm not even going to speak. I'm going to listen. And I guess that is me.
Yeah.
But then if that's all you are, is that
that's
existing?
What the nurse was saying to her, wasn't it? Just before she went off to the cabin, that she's lost herself.
Yeah.
And she's become apathetic. And she just needed to step away from this whole life, this fake kind of life, and just sit in her own body, not taking on these fake kind of personalities, and as an actress, I guess, because she can never be herself.
Yeah.
And then it almost like, as you say, she doesn't even speak, but still Alma's kind of absorbing whatever she's giving off, and it's turning her into a different person.
Yeah. And well, I mean, like, would you say Elizabeth has changed by the end of the film?
No.
She hasn't, has she? She's the same. Because there's nothing of her.
No. She tries not to give anything out.
And the only thing she does give out is her saying, no, don't, when she's about to throw that boiling water on her.
Yeah, it's very, like, ground level emotions of just don't hurt me. It's not giving any other, like, it's a very base level emotion.
Yes. It's interesting. Now, tell me something, right? You know the scene where Alma speaks about this is what happened when you got pregnant and gave birth. When that scene started again, did you think the version you were watching had just fucked up?
Yes, I did.
And when I was like, you are not going to do that all over again.
I was like, please. I had given up by that point. I was like, please don't make me watch that whole scene again.
Yeah, it just plays into that duality thing, doesn't it? And there's two sides to every story, and this is her emotional,
I was expecting
emotional
to
experience
there,
of the
like,
story.
Her face to change into like some zombie or something.
Well, that's when you get that where their face merge after that.
Yeah, that's true. But like, what is that saying then? Let's just take that one scene rather than trying to get answers from this whole fucking film, which would be impossible. Let's take that one supposedly simple scene. For those people who haven't watched the film but are still listening to the episode, Alma, who is the nurse who speaks all the way through the movie, comes in, sits at a table and tells Elizabeth the story of her as a mother, which is that she didn't really want this kid. She had this kid, and then the kid really was needy and affectionate, but she turned her back on that kid, right? Then we see that whole story play out again, but this time we focus on Alma's face rather than Elizabeth's face reacting to it. Why?
From what I can take from it is this wasn't Elizabeth's story. This was Alma's story, and it was because you had her story. I don't know how would Alma know this is her story.
Yeah,
she doesn't even
unless
know
there
her.
was some nurse's notes, but we never saw them.
Yeah, and so I took it that this is the continuation of the story from the sleeping with a guy on the beach. She has this baby that she doesn't like, and she wanted an abortion, and that's how I see it. And that's the duality, because you see her reaction, but then this is actually the girl telling the story. This is her story.
So then, why do we see it flipped again?
That is the flip. That this is her story now.
See, I thought of it as something like that was the other version of it. That was the nurse is Alma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Elizabeth's story, and they've both been through the same kind of similar experience. Whereas, Alma got rid of her baby and Elizabeth didn't, and she kept it and she loathed the baby. And I feel like that might be where they're understanding each other on that level, and then that's where they can merge as personalities and become. They've now hit. That was a connection almost. It was like that was the final little bridge, and they are now in the same boat together, and now they both understand each other deeper than they ever could.
See, Alma had an abortion, right?
Yeah.
I actually didn't actually realise that Alma had an abortion.
She said she gets rid of it. She said she went to see a nurse. Her friend was a nurse or something.
Yeah, after sleeping with them young boys at the beach. So she had the abortion, feels guilty. Whereas Elizabeth's thing is she tried to have an abortion, but it wasn't successful.
But she loathed it. They were both in the same situation.
Yes.
But one of them went one way with it, and one of them went the other way with it.
It's
Yeah.
almost like
and they both regret their decisions from it.
the crossroads in someone's life,
Mm.
and how that could change your
But
situation.
for them, I think it was more of a meeting point. It's like the two forks have finally meeting, and they're now both on the same road.
Mm.
That's what I took from it anyway.
Yeah.
It was like a final merging of them. They both were in the same stories to mould them as people.
Mm.
And
That's
to get
what
to the point.
apparently the cinematic analysis of this film, everything and anything can be said and it will be true. So we
I
could
don't
all be
like
right
that
at the same
stuff.
time.
I would much prefer that. I'm sure you prefer if
Yes,
you know
of
that there
course.
is an answer. You
Yes,
may not
we
never
all
find
want
out what it
answers.
is,
It
but if
almost
you know
sometimes
there is
feel
an
like
answer.
a cheap way out.
I think like the guy, like imagine here's the key to it. Imagine this guy Ingmar Bergman was not a filmmaker. He wasn't inclined to make films. What would his job be? What would he do? And that will tell you what he's getting at. I get the impression he would be some philosophical lecturer or something, or he would write books on philosophy and identity and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it, doesn't it? I mean, I haven't seen any other film, so.
No, but like based on
But
this,
from this, yeah, I would say, yeah, that he has a very big interest in it. Yes.
and there was definitely like, it's meant to jar you because it's taken you out of the fact that you're watching a film with the beginning and the end, and then that scene that Adam mentioned at the middle when all of a sudden there's like a big burn mark, and then you've got this reverse speaking that's happening. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you suddenly doing this in the middle of the film? You're showing us that we are watching a film here. Are you just playing with the form? Because if you're doing that, that's cool. I'm all for that. Particularly at that time, that would have been completely experimental.
Yeah.
You know, people still watching Lynch now and going, "Oh wow, groundbreaking." Well, look, Bergman did it in the fucking 60s. That would have been weird for people. But why? Why have you done that?
Yeah.
Is it to cause people to stop and go, "Oh yes, this is a film. This too is performance. All of this is an act."
Yeah. But this is the thing. Maybe there is an answer. But because this is why it's the Mount Everest of cinematic analysis, because people, I mean, the guy's dead now, so he can't actually speak his truth about it, but people are trying to work it out. So that people obviously have some ideas about what it's about, but there's no real answers apparently.
All the things I thought were going to happen and it didn't happen. I thought that the one who wasn't talking was going to consume the other one's personality and essentially walk out there as Alma. I thought that the two of them were going to have a lesbian sexual relationship.
It's definitely
hinted
to. Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I thought when the husband turns up and Alma is responding to him, I thought, okay, here's where a twist is revealed, and we find out that Elizabeth never existed, and this was just Alma having to get away to the cottage by herself to come to terms with her feelings.
But
And
then
maybe
it
that
doesn't
is the
commit
case,
to it,
but it
does
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It finishes that they sleep together or something, and then that is the end of that segment. And then
Strange.
the whole situation with them telling the story twice happens. But,
Strange.
it is strange, but the standout scenes in this film for me are when she tells the story on the beach, because it feels like this would never be done in a 1966 film, and it was like,
I know.
wow. And apparently
Talking about
they,
coming and shit.
yeah, they had to, from what I heard, they had to take that scene out, and it got re-put in like years down the line because it was obviously so extreme.
I'm not surprised. I read something about that scene where they said like cinema audiences at the time, or like people still now to this day, swear that they saw the scene when they reflect on the film, and
really?
they forget that it was actually just
Wow.
that
It
she
is-
spoke
Do you know
it.
what?
Yeah.
I kind of get that. It was said in such a way that you can imagine her doing it, but she doesn't describe it in detail. But
I mean,
yeah.
it's kind of, it feels like it's a big monologue, but it's not. But it's very simple to the point. These
Yeah.
boys came. He was there. He was inside me. He finished inside me. All these weird things. You're right.
Yeah.
Like for the 60s, it's like, my goodness. I think mainly because it was in black and white, it feels
And then
even more old.
The second
though.
boy comes along, and she gets him the other girl gets him in her mouth, and then she gets so excited, the other guy carries on her again.
Yeah.
It's like this is for a 1966 film. This is strong.
Yeah, but also, why does? Who said, Adam? You said that they said the boy was 13 and 14. What? Who even said that,
it's
and
in
why?
the script. It's said.
Why? Why is that a thing?
I don't know why.
Back then, it wouldn't have been considered a thing. I suppose it just would have been young teenage boys. I mean, it was a good story. It was quite compelling when she was telling that. It's true, but you almost want a payoff. You need, in a situation like that, you need the Elizabeth character to respond, so that you can kind of get deeper meaning from it.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of why we're frustrated and looking for answers, is because normally in a film, when someone says something like that, someone responding to it gives you a chance to then place it, give it a context, and be like, okay, she said that, and then she said this, which means that. But because it's just one way, it's very hard.
Do you know what I notice a lot in this film as well? Is they break the fourth wall a lot. So the boy at the beginning, he literally looks at the camera, and then it switches, and you're behind him, and he's looking at the screen. So it's almost like he looks at you, and then it happens a lot in the film as well, from their perspective and point of view, and looking at the fact that the camera's focusing on Alma at the end, we could almost say that maybe as an audience we are Elizabeth watching Alma, and we don't get any answers, kind of thing. We're just mute in this whole thing to everything that we're listening to.
I guess you could talk for hours and try and come up with different meanings to this film, though. Quick question, Paul. Now that you've seen the film, would you pick it again for the podcast?
I think we've had an interesting conversation about it.
It's a good.
I do,
it's
but I'm just
much
saying,
more interesting conveation than the film.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. That happens a lot of the time.
Because I've picked a couple films now. I think I picked one film actually now I haven't seen until I've done it for the podcast, and I always think back at I'm really glad I picked that for the podcast, but I don't know if you felt the same.
Well, this is the thing. If I watch this film on my own, I would want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I did pick it, because then we could have we didn't find any answers.
No, we weren't.
But we can still try and dissect it. I enjoyed that.
Yes, this is much. This is much better. This is the right kind of film to talk about on the podcast from time to time, because although it may not immediately grab people to have watched it, like I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this who either A, have never seen the film, or B, people just aren't listening to it because they haven't seen the film. That's fine, because you need films like that so you can talk about the levels sometimes, stuff that goes beyond surface. It causes you to reflect, and I think the only way to have a conversation about this film is to not talk about it in a weird way. You have to just talk around it rather than the specifics of it. Very technically good. I would never watch this again. That's the thing. I would like to read the script, but I would never watch this again because it was so tough to endure. It was really grueling, unenjoyable.
It's only an hour
experience.
and 25 minutes or something.
I know, and it's such a short film, which is why I'm rating it so low. But I appreciate the technical aspects of it, what he did, and the ideas he was putting out there at that time, because that wouldn't have been out there in cinema. I just think nowadays, as people have been inspired, presumably by him, we have much better films that use the ideas. Yeah. But the idea of identity and personas and who we are is very compelling, interesting.
I think so.
I was also on tenterhooks when she threw that glass down on the floor and was just waiting for that woman to walk over it.
And all she did was, ow!
I know. I wanted a more visceral reaction.
I wanted all the blood.
Yeah. That was the thing that stands out to me. That scene.
That was the
switch.
It was
like, oh, please, no. It's very, very strange, peculiar film. I can see why people could loathe it and why people could love it, but I don't know. I couldn't do either, because it's not a terrible film. It's just not for me on an enjoyment level, but I couldn't give it 8, 9, 10. It couldn't be up in those echelons.
That is why it never reached any further for me, because I did think that I was going to get some answers, and when I didn't, I was like, no, it's not getting any higher than that. But I did want the answers, and I did enjoy it, so it gets the 7.
See, what you need, right, if David Lynch was going to tackle this story, right, to make it a bit more satisfying, what you need interspersed, or not even interspersed, somewhere towards the end, is a scene, very briefly, of Alma lying in the hospital bed with a nurse standing over her, and Alma's like eyes are closed, just quickly, because it's like already positions it as okay, Alma's in a coma, and everything we're seeing is her rationalizing shit through in her head. She's interacting with herself, really different identities within her own brain, so that one can dominate and come out and be the one.
It's true. Anyway, I think we've done talking about this film, haven't we?
We're done. It was a good one. It was a good one to talk of.
I enjoyed it.
Have we got any people sending us their reviews?
Yeah, we do.
Surprisingly.
We've got Rob Watts. He sent us a review. He says, I watched it recently and liked it, but there's a lot going on and I don't know how much I actually took from it on first view. I think that's kind of my interpretation of the film. I liked it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know much else. That's it. I just liked it.
I feel like I appreciated it. That's the difference. I appreciated it.
Yes.
And Adam just endured it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're all at with it.
Yeah. That's fair dues.
If there's a transcript, I would read the transcript and see if I can take anything. But if not, that's my last engagement with Persona. No, that'd be very fucking dull.
Well, maybe with Maximus.
No, this would not be fun.
Maximus would be Elizabeth.
Patron special. Yeah, no talking. Not until I try and throw the hot water on him and he goes, no, don't. And I'll say, so you can speak, eh?
You damn cat.
I knew it all along.
So we got to place it, right?
Let's place this shit.
Okay, everyone, we took a little break there. Our average score was 17. Divide by 3 gives you 5.7. We only have one other film at 5.7, and that was Venom. And while Paul believes Venom is better than Persona, Adam and I believe that Persona is better than Venom. So Persona goes above Venom, which means it is in the top spot in relegation zone. We've got 10 films in the relegation zone, and Persona is in the number 10 spots. Below Persona, in case you would care to hear, is Venom, Green Book, Jason X, In Time, 3 from Hell, The Meg, Tomb Raider, The Jesus Rolls, and American Psycho 2.
Wow.
So that means in our bottom 10 films of all time, 2 have been suggested by Paul, 2 have been suggested by Ben, and 1 has been suggested by guest Danny.
Wow.
Adam has nothing in the top 10.
Well, he picks all the really high-rated films, that's why.
He's Mr. Play It Safe. So there you go, listeners. That's how it is. And by the way, what it means by Persona getting that 10th spot in the relegation zone, it means Shazam has been pushed up and out of relegation zone, and Shazam is now sitting pretty.
Well,
there you go.
That's fine.
So, shall we hear from our patrons
Yes.
and tell the listeners what our patrons have been watching recently?
Okay, first we have Katie and Oti from the For Your Reference podcast. They said, we just watched another round. Here's my review. At least once in our lives, we have or will one day wake up after being on autopilot and wonder how we become so miserable. This film beautifully portrays the conscious effort to reignite life's spark through 4 men that have lived many lives. I love the decisions to follow through with very real mundanity and find glimmers of hope through even the smallest gestures. Cheers. I haven't seen this. You've both seen it, haven't you?
I haven't seen it. I really want to.
Yeah, I've seen it. She took a lot more from it than I did. She thought about it on a grander scale than I did. She's right, but when I was watching it, I guess I didn't think of it in that terms. I was just thinking, because you know what it's about, right?
He just drinks loads. That's all I know.
There's these teachers and they are discussing over dinner one night how there was this study that said if you have point something blood alcohol level, if you can maintain that, you excel in everything. You perform much, much better. Your brain works better. Everything just works better. It's not to get drunk. That's the thing. The idea is not to get drunk. It's to have just enough alcohol in your system and sustain that throughout. So they do it as an experiment.
This is the plot of the actual film?
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
I know, it is so good. And Mads Mikkelsen's the lead in it.
Yeah,
and it's a good film.
It's the same guy who
It's-
did The Hunt, didn't it?
yeah, that's
It's the
right.
same director and stuff. Yeah.
It's a very good film, but there's just a couple of things in there that lose me. Not least, the ending didn't do it for me at all, and that was the biggest shame. But it's still a great film, a great experiment, and it's very interesting, the idea of why they're doing it and what it does to them as they go along.
I don't know. I noticed the poster. It looks like Mads is just downing a bottle of vodka or something, and it's like, are they just getting drunk? I couldn't really
they
work
definitely
out.
got that on the promo image. I mean, it's not. Well,
I mean,
you
I don't
watch the
really know
film,
how
you
you're
see.
supposed to advertise that in a poster.
No, I guess that's
That's-
the only
that's
way, because
probably
if
the
he's
best
just
way.
holding a glass in his hand, it's not very compelling, is it? Much more compelling if he's tipping a bottle of Moet down his throat on a bright sunny day. When the
Yes.
reality is, most of it is sipping red wine out of hip flasks in toilet cubicles and stuff, because they can't let anyone know they're doing it. That's the thing.
Seedy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you two thought of it. I enjoyed it as well.
Nice.
So Julio says, so is Ben going to watch the Snyder Cut? Because I'm assuming Adam is, and I know Paul has. Anyway, I watched the Snyder Cut, mainly so I'd be ready if I had to write about it at work, but also because I was curious how it stacked up against Snyder's other work. It's ultimate Snyder for sure, the Snyderest movie ever. It should please everyone who wanted it, but I doubt it will seduce most people who weren't interested in the first place. I also watched The Trip to Greece, which was delightful and as funny as the previous 3 trips. Are you guys familiar with that franchise? First of all, the Trip to Greece thing, that's Steve Coogan and Rob
I know.
Brydon.
I've never watched any of it though.
I watched some of their trips. Yeah, when they were doing
Was
the
it
UK
based on a
ones, it was
TV
funny.
series?
Yeah, it was. It was good.
Okay.
I like the TV series.
Is it
but I
him
haven't
and
seen
Rob
any of the
Brydon?
films. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who said that? I just fucking said that.
That was
I
it.
heard the Steve Coogan bit. I didn't hear you say Rob Brydon.
Before we say anything else, I think Adam should read the next one.
Oh yeah, go
Okay.
on, Adam. Yeah.
So after this, Jamie has come back and he has said, "Come on, Julio, you really think Ben will watch a 4-hour superhero film? It must be his idea of torture. The only way he would watch such a film is if he was forced to for a Patreon episode. Wait a minute, that has just given me an idea. ...
Well.
Dog.
Guess what, everyone?
Yes.
We've had a massive discussion about it already, and
Yes.
Ben has watched it.
Yes.
Yes, and it's
But what
on
it-
the Patreon episode.
You'll
Yes.
never know what he thought unless you watch it.
Yes. Beloved patrons will find out.
This is what we hinted at briefly at the beginning of that meaty discussion we had.
Yes,
And this takes up most of it.
exactly.
It's
And it's
in
a
the
video
Patreon.
episode as well. You get to see our faces.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's ticking away like a time bomb, waiting for you to listen, so you can find out what we thought about it. We will give nothing away here.
No.
However, Julio's comment about it should please everyone who wanted it, but I doubt it will seduce most people who weren't interested in the first place. That's an interesting
That's an interesting
look
take,
at
isn't
it.
it?
I think
We'll
that's
see if it comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You'll have to go and listen, Julio, to find out now, won't you?
Oh, you will, and Jamie.
Yes.
Jamie got a
go and check it
secret
out.
surprise episode that he didn't even need to ask for.
Excellent.
He's got his money's worth out of this.
I know, and Jamie's going to have a good old run of things because as we're getting to the end of the episode now, the next episode is an Adam pick, but after the Adam pick, it's a patron pick. It's back to Jamie. Jamie has picked our next film. We won't release it to the masses yet. Our patrons know what it is, but I'm very excited
we?
for what Jamie's picked for us.
I don't know
Adam
what
doesn't
it
even
was.
know what it is.
Adam's forgotten.
But before we get to that secret episode that we're not going to tell you about, what is your pick, Adam?
Adam.
Let's go. This is very off the back of this podcast we've just been talking about today. We're rolling off it is, and it's also very interesting what Jamie has just said, and I found out what Jamie's pick is next. So, this could be interesting here.
Oh,
If-
shit. I know what it's going to be. Go on.
I haven't seen it. You two have seen it.
Yeah, go on.
It's going to do. I think this might divide everyone here. It
Okay.
is a David Lynch film. This. It is one of the ones I've been wanting to watch for a while, and it's always hard to get your hands on. I actually ordered
I
it
know what you're
today.
going to say. I know what you're going to say.
I know what
actually
he's
ordered
gonna
it
say as well.
today, in ready for this podcast, and I want to watch it, and also more importantly, I'm going back to what Paul says, as I want to discuss it afterwards because I feel like you kind of have to. I think it's not a film you can. I don't even know much about it, but straight away,
Come
I feel
on,
like
spit that fucking title
it's
out.
Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was going to be a Razorhead.
Yeah,
okay.
Razorhead. I knew it was going to be a Razorhead. You know what's so weird about that? because
What?
Paul set me off on this Criterion journey.
Yeah.
I've said to myself, every 2 months I'm going to buy myself a Criterion, and I
Okay.
just a couple of weeks ago bought Eraserhead, and I haven't
Oh.
watched it yet as well. So I will
I
enjoy
ordered,
that.
I ordered it today. in
Eraserhead very
preparation for
expensive to buy.
this. Yes, I had to buy it second hand because it was too expensive otherwise. I think it was only like £7.50.
Do you know this is the most surreal run that Filmbusters has had between
true.
Tetsuo, Persona,
Yeah.
and now Eraserhead.
I was
My
very
God.
tempted to kind of break the mold again and maybe not drop in a Lego Batman, but
No,
like
good. I'm
a
glad you didn't.
completely different film. I've still got a film in my head, and I keep meaning to drop it. And then every so often, I think of another film. I'm like, okay, that one was going in, and that one was still on my back burner again. And one day when I can't think of anything else, that one will come out. But I was also quite when we were talking about this film, I was like, is he going to go this far into Lynch and mention this film? But yeah,
That's excellent. Listen, we're going to have one hell of a run. April is going to be exciting.
This is a surreal season.
It is a surreal season.
Well,
Well, that's
yeah.
very exciting, Adam.
Very
I look forward
exciting.
to that, and that will be the first podcast broadcasting from my new home. What a way to get me settled in, David.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Well, that's the end of the episode. But you should definitely go and check out our Patreon episode now. It is time for you to sign up, throw a few bucks our way, and get
Cough
that
up a
Justice
buck.
League content.
Yes,
you gold fuck.
it's true.
Schneidertown.
It's Snydertown, baby.
We're doing exactly what DC and Marvel got to do. We're trying to get more and more money out of these people, and I feel quite bad about it.
I don't feel bad about it. That if these people give their money to Marvel films willingly, they should certainly give less money to us, where we're much better for their mental stimulation
Is
than a
this
Marvel
staying in the
film.
podcast, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. We're much better for you than a Marvel film. Consider us like a good
better for your
home cooked meal, and Marvel is your equivalent of going to fucking not even like KFC or Burger King. They're too good
Wimpy.
for it. Wimpy, yeah. So get off the wimpy, go
Get
on a
off the
fucking
wimpy.
diet, and have some home cooked good stuff. So you know all the ingredients, all the good ingredients to have.
We're like the very good Sunday roast.
But we're not that stodgy.
I'm the Yorkshire pudding.
You're a fucking Cumberland sausage, mate. Is what you are.
You're the parsnip.
No,
Oh,
I
I
hate
like a bit of parsnip.
parsnips. I hate them.
Exactly. You either love them or you hate them.
I like a bit of roast potato, mate. I'll have the roast potato.
Roast potato is a key
Yorkie.
to a good roast dinner.
Guess what, though?
Okay.
I put some
before
mayo
you
on
leave-
it.
Before you leave, oh, you weirdo. Before you
Horrible.
leave,
Absolutely horrible.
you can have a roast dinner, but there's only 3 elements to it.
You've already asked
You've
us
asked this
question.
before.
Have I? Really?
Yes.
I don't remember.
I think my
We've had
answer
it.
was gravy, Yorkshire pudding, and whatever the meat is.
Okay. Mine would be the meat, the gravy, and the potato.
Bah.
I said roast potato, Yorkshire pudding, and
If you don't say gravy, that is one dry ass dish.
I grew up not having gravy.
Oh, you dry ass man.
I never had it.
Gravy is good, man. If you could put something with gravy on it, you put gravy on it.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
what are
know
you
else I
having
have.
with your stodgy
I don't
potatoes
fucking
and
know,
your
mate.
stodgy Yorkies?
I can't remember what I'd have. I'd have a
Horseradish.
Cumberland. I'd have a Cumberland sausage.
Yeah. Well, okay. Even
And
more
that-
criminal that you don't put gravy on that.
No, I'd have lamb. Some
Nice.
nice minted lamb.
If the lamb gets dry, you
can't
definitely
have the
put
mint
gravy
sauce.
there.
Mint sauce is one of the ingredients.
No, it gets rubbed in the mint on the skin. It puts the mint on the skin.
Or else it gets to mayo again.
Is